Welcome to the GMB YouTube channel. Y'all know it was 2 weeks ago that we first heard about Nikolas Cruz serving the life sentence for his role in that Parkland school shooting. Since then, there's been new testimony evidence from that judge. So today, for the next 15 or 20 so minutes, we're going to try to cover as much as we can from the very latest. So let's start by beginning by let's start with the very latest. So in case y'all didn't know, it was 20. So in case y'all want to recap, so here's a recap for you guys. It was back in 2018 when Nikolas Cruz started firing at a high school in Parkland, Florida, killing over 20 people, including teachers. And since then, video shows of him going to McDonald's and Subway, and McDonald's is where he was caught. He was arrested and charged with murder. And since then, he has pleaded not, and during that time, he's pleaded not guilty. And then almost a year later, he comes back to court pleading guilty to all of the case. So then we go to this year when the trial began, hearing the victim's testimonies, this and this, and the judge was furious about all of this. And so finally, when it came time to sentencing, angry people in Parkland started shouting this and this and saying, "System failed." Yes, and this. Well, he's now spending his 2 weeks in prison, and since then he's back in court for the sentencing hearing. So let's bring in the very latest. It's from CNN.
These city folks just learned that you always battle a horse from the left.
Emotions boiling over in a Florida courtroom just ahead of the sentencing of the gunman who killed 17 people at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. CNN's Carlos Suarez has been covering this trial since the very beginning. Carlos, today was not about changing the gunman's sentence. It was about the victims' families getting a chance to address it. Tell us about what they said in court.
That's exactly right. Right, Wolf, there was a great deal of anger out here, understandably so. Much of that anger was directed at Nikolas Cruz, but some of it was set aside for the jury as well as Nikolas Cruz's defense attorneys.
The Parkland school gunman will be sentenced tomorrow to life in prison, but he must first hear from survivors and the families of those he killed in 2018.
You took away an angel that day. That could have made a difference in society. You stole him from us, and you did not receive the justice that you deserved.
He gets daily meals, a roof over his head, and a bed to sleep in now. My sister's roof is 6 feet of dirt, and her bed is a coffin.
Many of the families were outraged by a Florida jury's decision last month not to recommend Nikolas Cruz be sentenced to death for killing 17 people at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. 3 jurors voted against a death sentence, which in Florida must be unanimous. The defense had argued Cruz was mentally ill and should be spared death.
I feel betrayed by our justice system.
The murderer is not a victim of drinking during pregnancy. He is not a victim of mental health issues. He is a murdering bastard that should be made an example by being sentenced to death.
Is this the worst mass shooting to go to trial, does not deserve the death penalty? What does?
In deploring his sentence, many spoke directly to Cruz.
You don't know me, but you tried to kill me.
Parkland murder, I hope your maker sends you directly to hell to burn for the rest of your eternity.
Things got tense when Cruz's lead attorney asked the judge to stop victims' families from attacking the defense team, their families, and jurors.
I did my job, and every member of this team did their job, Judge. And we should not personally be attacked for that, nor should our children.
But the state argued the defense cannot limit what the families and survivors say.
These victims have every right to express themselves.
After a brief recess, the defense team again brought up the verbal attacks, even making a reference to the judge's children.
Judge, I can assure you that if they were talking about your children, you would
Cruz showed no emotion in court. He stared at every single speaker today and showed, again, zero emotion in all of this. His attorneys, they do not expect him to say anything tomorrow when we hear from more of the victims, and then the judge will sentence him to life in prison without parole. Wolf?
Carlos, did the judge address the families?
No, the judge did not take any actions against the family. The defense attorneys, they again tried to raise their objections to some of the comments that were made by some of the family members. The judge, however, was not having it. She said that they had every right to be there and say whatever they wanted. And at one point, she asked one of Nicholas Cruz's attorneys to go ahead and leave the courtroom.
And so tomorrow, we'll find out whether he gets that life in prison or sentenced to death. I mean, there's more to this than meets the eye. So we're probably going to spend 10, 15, 20 minutes talking about this. When we come back, we're going to hear more from the judge. Why she was so angry. And I'll give you a recap about this judge who was being ballistic and this defense bringing up his children. So that's what the judge says, because she has a right to say whatever she wants. Stay with us. Welcome back. Today I'm looking into the Parkland school shooting as Nicholas Cruz was back in court for the sentencing hearing. Now remember, the judge has had it up to here from what the defense has to say, bringing up the defense's children. But there is more to the story than probably meets the eye. And tomorrow's the day that he may be sentenced to life in prison. That's what the jury decided. And the victims are saying, well, yeah, he should be able to get the death penalty because this and this. So, let's look at what the judge and defense clashed.
Janine, there were major fireworks in the courtroom between the judge and the defense. He said in big fireworks. At one point, loved ones getting personal, addressing the defense team directly. The defense team did not like that. That resulted in a tense exchange involving the public defender and the judge, and ended with an attorney getting kicked out of court.
When these people are upset about specific things that have gone on from that table, like shooting the middle finger up at this court, and laughing and joking, Miss McNeil, be quiet. When these people have sat in this courtroom and watched this behavior from that table, and they want to say that they're not happy about it, what is the problem?
Judge, I have no problem because I have thick skin. But once you bring in my children, I think that's highly improper.
I didn't even know you have children. I don't know what you're talking about. Your children? What about your children?
For them to comment on my children is highly improper before this court will allow that kind of testimony.
Okay.
Is also
I don't remember any comments about any children. And if there was, it obviously didn't, it came and went without me noticing it.
Judge, I can assure you that if they were talking about your children, you would definitely notice it.
You need to sit down right now. You're out of line. In fact, you're excused. You need to go sit in the back with your Chief Public Defender.
He's the public.
Mr. Weeks, please ask the lawyer from your office to go sit down and not say anything else.
Judge, that same venom that the court is expressing is the same venom that defense counsel had to sit through this entire morning.
She brought up her children multiple times during the trial. Nobody knows if I'm barren or not. They don't know about my children.
Judge.
Sit down. Sit down.
Judge.
Sit down, Mr. Weeks.
Please do not summarily dismiss me.
I'm summarily dismissing you. Go sit down.
It was heated. That was Public Defender Gordon Weeks, worried about the, quote, venom spoken by family members and how it could encourage potential retribution given our tense political climate. Well, the state insisted nobody was trying to incite violence. No matter what, though, Calvin and Nicole, nothing said in court today or tomorrow will change the outcome. No, it won't. Very heated, though. Thanks, Janine.
It's just outrageous. You brought up my kids into this? You're out of here. But listen, you have the right to say whatever the hell you want. This is America. This isn't other countries to where you don't have the right to say whatever you want. Listen, everybody in the United States of America, your freedom of speech has been bought by ordinary citizens in the state of Texas, in the state of Florida, in the state of California, in the state of New York, Connecticut, Michigan, New Mexico, wherever. Your mothers and fathers, your sons and daughters served in the damn military, and you want to argue that, oh, this and this. But there's probably more to this. So, this was over yesterday, so watch this one. It's the same one, but watch.
When I was a state representative, I passed laws to protect abused and neglected kids.
It is very important, considering what has been happening throughout this nation with threats to the Speaker of the House and violence that has incurred, that we do not create an atmosphere where dog whistles are being emanated from this courtroom, encouraging folks to act on those same types of behaviors. This is a sentencing hearing. We are asking the court to direct the state, to direct those witnesses to address the matters at hand, and that is their feelings with respect to how this particular sentence impacted them and how that would be helpful for the court to render judgment. But to direct any other statements or any other suggestions to the defense and to the jurors to encourage or incite folks to act on those encouragements is not appropriate.
There has been no incitement, there has been no remarks. How you can equate violence, I mean,
I agree, Mr. Weeks,
and the defendant's violence.
All right, and respectfully, Mr. Weeks, Ms. McNeil, who's lead counsel in this case, has made all of these arguments. I've heard them. There's been 16 people that have testified. Only 2 have made a direct comment to the lawyers, and
you know, Judge, I'm standing here and I see that Judge Marcus jumped up really quickly. But no one jumped up when people were referring to karma acting in the universe. No one was jumping up when they were referring to the defense children. No one jumped up to try to tap down that rhetoric. That is the rhetoric that I am talking about. That is what I'm trying to be very clear on. Jeff Marcus, the state, they can hide behind their arguments, but we all are witnessing what is occurring in this courtroom.
which is myself. I'm a judge,
And
I understand that I'm in
Thank you,
charge
Judge.
of the decorum, and I feel that 99% or a great percentage of what has been said has been appropriate. Everybody has maintained decorum, but for a few comments, it's best to just move on as opposed to highlight them.
This is true, Judge, but I am witnessing a building of momentum, and I'm encouraging the court to direct the state to tap down on that momentum so it does not reoccur and it does not become a theme. Thank you, Judge.
Your Honor, for the record, the only thing the state has said to any of these witnesses when they get up is, would they like to say something on behalf of the victim they're representing? There's been no encouraging or inciting, as Mr. Weeks has put on this record. That is a blatant falsehood and a recreation of the record. As far as no objections being made, it's the defense that could have objected. It's not the state's duty to object to their own witnesses when they're testifying.
Okay. Listen, I've already heard. If you have anything else to say, you can put it in writing at a later time. I've heard from both sides more than once. That's going to be it. I made my decision. Like I said, 99% of what's been testified to has been appropriate. I do not want to highlight the few things that were said that were perhaps not appropriate, and let's move on. You can have as many seconds as you want in writing, and you can put all of your objections in writing. They've been made multiple times from your chief assistant, from Ms. McNeil, and I don't want to hear anything else. I've already heard it. Is there something that has not already been argued?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, exactly what is it?
Just before Mr. Shacker took the podium and testified before this court, I wanted to reflect that both Mr. Marcus and Mr. Satz looked at the statement, are in agreement. And so their implicit adoption of what he was saying was improper arguments.
Okay, but what you are doing right now is highlighting something and making if your office in general does not want to facilitate and or incite violence, then we need to just sit down and move on. That's it. There were 18 witnesses, 16 or 18 witnesses that testified today. There was nothing that was said until Ms. McNeil made her point made, and, you know, we're moving on.
But is the court going to do anything about maybe stopping it from happening again?
When these people are upset about specific things that have gone on from that table, like shooting the middle finger up at this court and laughing and joking, Ms. McNeil, be quiet. When these people have sat in this courtroom and watched this behavior from that table, and they want to say that they're not happy about it, what is the problem?
Judge, I have no problem because I have thick skin. But once you bring in my children, I think that's highly improper.
I didn't even know you have children. I don't know what you're talking about. Your children? What about your children?
For them to comment on my children is highly improper before this court will allow that kind of testimony.
Okay.
Is also improper.
There was, I don't remember any comments about any children. And if there was, it obviously didn't, it came and went without me noticing it.
Judge, I can assure you that if they were talking about your children,
what?
You would definitely notice.
You need to sit down right now. You're out of line. In fact, you're excused. You need to go sit in the back with your chief public defender.
He's the public.
Mr. Weeks, please ask the lawyer from your office to go sit down and not say anything else. To try to threaten my children and bring up my children is inappropriate. Go to the back of the room now. That just violated about every rule of professional responsibility that I have never. If you're gonna get up here and you're going to...
Judge, I asked you to go sidebar on this matter.
You, sidebar or not, you don't have one of your assistant public defenders say something about my children?
Judge, that same venom that the court is expressing is the same venom that defense counsel had to sit through this entire morning.
She brought up her children multiple times during the trial. Nobody knows if I'm barren or not. They don't know about my children.
Judge.
Sit down. Sit down.
Judge.
Sit down, Mr. Weeks.
Please do not summarily dismiss me.
I'm summarily dismissing you.
the
Go
court.
sit down.
I'm asking the court. I asked the court to go sidebar.
Go sit down. You don't threaten the
Judge,
court's children.
everyone
Your
in this
assistant just
courtroom-
did that. Go sit down.
No one in this courtroom had to endure what we had to
Go
endure.
sit down. Miss McNeil has made her children a spectacle more than once during this trial. That was her choice. You have absolutely no right to have one of your assistants come up here and suggest something about my children. Now, please go sit down.
Judge.
You're inappropriate and out of line. Go sit down.
Judge, may I have a brief recess?
No. Go sit down.
May I have a brief recess so I can speak to my attorneys?
We're moving on with the sentencing, Mr. Weeks.
So I can have a brief recess?
No.
Thank you.
It's 1:36. Thank you.
As you can see, she was heated up. And I just about had it with all this, so I'm very furious about what she's going to say, so stay tuned because I got a lot to say. Let me just take this opportunity to make sure you guys subscribe to the GMB YouTube channel, turn on your post notifications, as well as the TAP YouTube channel. With post notifications turned on and subscriptions, let's see, and thank you all for almost 1,400 1.40 subscribers. Really means a lot to me. Yeah, so what I've just heard, I mean, bring up the judge's children, you've crossed the line. I mean, threatening a judge, that leads you to believe that, like, I just about had it with all this stuff going on. I mean, this judge, Elizabeth Schwer, you don't want to mess with her. You don't want to mess with her, and you certainly don't want to mess with Judge Judy, Judge Marilyn Milian, or any of the hot bench judges, especially Judge Joe Brown. Because let me tell you something. You mess with a judge, you're out of here. That's basically the way it is. I mean, Like if I was in court and I was shooting up the middle finger in the air and just laughing and joking. I would obviously get kicked out of the courtroom. Then the next day I come back and say, Your Honor, I want to apologize for my rude behavior yesterday, and I swear to you, I will do everything in my power to make it right, to make sure I won't do it again. That's what I would do. If this defense right here, who brought up the judge's children, you need to go. You need to not enter that courtroom again. You need to be fired or suspended or put on leave. Because if you were my brother and I heard about this, I'd simply just text you up saying, what the hell is wrong with you? Threatening a judge? You're going to lose your job. Like, if I was an attorney and I brought up her children, that'd be the same thing. Next day I come back, I say, Judge, I'm sorry for what I've done. I want to assure you, I was in the wrong and you're in the right. I will never, ever bring up your children again. Then it'd be up to your boss, to your firm boss, who would say, if I did that, Mr. Carmody, your actions yesterday were very outrageous, and we decided to put you on leave. I learned my lesson. It's like being in school and you do something wrong. Like a naughty child would do, like if a student would disrupt the class, you get detention. You sit in detention and you swear to yourself, I won't do it again. Next day you come back, you swear you won't do it again. I'm going to say that I hope that this doesn't happen again, because if it does happen again, it's probably not going to be the worst. So, yeah. So if that was me in that courtroom, and if I was a judge, you brought up my brother, my sister-in-law, you're out of line. You crossed the line. So this defense right here, you're watching this, you are a bully. You are a bully. And as a fact for this member of the defense team, your mama's so fat, when the judge said order in the court, she said, I want 2 Big Macs. And your mama's fat ass ate them. Yeah. That's foul. I apologize. But still, that is inappropriate behavior in the courtroom to bring up the judge's children, flipping off the middle finger, and laughing like the defense team. It should never have happened. That is unacceptable behavior. If I was in that courtroom, I would be like, hey, that's enough. Break it up. She has the right to do what she wants. It's her courtroom. You run your courtroom and run it however you want to do it. So, if you were the judge, you'd run the courtroom however you want to. As for this judge, it's her courtroom. The dog doesn't wag the tail. This is not a circus. It's a courtroom. If this was a circus, there wouldn't be no judges. There wouldn't be attorneys. And yet, to be laughing, joking, interrupting people, it's just out of hand. So, here's what really needs to be going on. What really needs to be going on here is the fact that if it was me as a judge, I'd shut you out. I would automatically shut you out and say, hey, you're in the wrong here. You have no right talking about my brother, my sister, my brother-in-law, this and this. And you do that to me again, I'll contact your lawyer. So, that's just basically it. It's just basically how it is with these people. You have no right talking about people's kids and expected to get away with it. Incidentally, I would not get away with it talking about the judge's kids or brother or sister or their mother. Because I can assure you, despicable and inappropriate. That's all we have for this Parkland case. We'll keep looking into this. In fact, We'll figure out whether Nicholas Cruz gets life in prison, and if that happens, we'll report back to you. Make sure you tune into tonight's Gaming Break on the TAP YouTube channel. We're talking about the love swindle scam and how you can avoid it from Catherine Cryer. It's a love scam, and we're going to tell you again how you can avoid it. So, that's Gaming Break for right now. Join all of us at YouTube next time for another edition of Give Me a Break. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.